Hi, everyone. Welcome to the June edition of the Tracy Developer Meetup. Tonight I have Priyanka Tyagi, who's going to be going over some Flutter development best practices with us. But before we get right into the presentation material, I want to go over some group logistics, just as a reminder. So we are live. This is a live event. So there could be audio and video issues. So if anything like that comes up, please drop it in the chat so that way we can correct it ASAP. If you have any questions, please, for this particular meetup, please hold them till the end. I'll be collecting questions throughout, and then we'll ask Priyanka the questions at the end. That's her preference. So I mean, let's jump right into it. Priyanka, do you wanna give everyone an introduction on who you are and what you're up to?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Introduction to Flutter Development. And in today's talk, we'll be going over the Flutter, like what Flutter is and how does it solve the problem with the cross-platform development. And I'm Priyanka Tyagi, and I work as a software engineering manager at Willow Innovations. We make wearable breast pumps for mothers. And let's get started. All right. So tonight's agenda is we will discuss the challenges usually we get with writing apps across the different platforms. And then we'll see like how Flutter helps there. And what is Flutter anyway? From there, we'll go to the creating a Flutter project, which will be deployed on different platforms. And there, a little bit, we'll dig into the anatomy of Flutter app. And finally, we'll conclude with the developers tools we have for Flutter. All right, so the first thing is what is cross-platform development is. So cross-platform development is the ability to build and deliver apps that can run across multiple device platforms. So in this here, in today's world, we have like apps on Android, iOS, web, possibly, and desktop mostly. So the Flutter gives us ability to write one code and deploy all these on these different platforms from the single code base. So now the challenges is what the challenges are there for deploying the same code to the different platforms. So cross-platform is generally hard. So why it's hard? So there are, as you know, there are so many screen form factors, devices, and platforms together. So when we try to develop for all these target devices all together, that makes a developer's life really interesting because they do not have to support one device and one OS, but all these devices, and there are hundreds of them. And which makes actually if you're a solo developer, that makes it really harder for you to reach out to all the platforms together, because for each platform comes with their own technology, own languages, and it for one person to become proficient in all these technology becomes really harder. In bigger enterprises where they can afford to have different dedicated teams targeted for each platform, there to keep the feature parity comes with a cost of time and, of course, the money. So now, how Flutter helps, how this fits the bill. First thing, it allows the code sharing. You can use the same code to deploy pretty much in all these 4 platforms. And you have one code editor that you can use to write the code for all these 4 platforms. And the one thing it comes with Flutter, it has its own widgets. It's not dependent on the OEM widget. OEM stands for Original Equipment Manufacturer, the companies which actually create the devices. That makes Flutter is a great choice for the custom designs. Now, the Flutter comes with a decent built-in widget library for material design and for Cupertino widgets targeted for iOS. And finally, you code once and deploy everywhere on these 4 platforms. Now let's see what is Flutter. Flutter is an open source SDK that was developed the target was to develop cross-platform applications and it's developed and maintained by Google. And you write Flutter apps using Dart language. Flutter is actually a complete framework that comes with all the goodies like UI rendering, widgets, state management solutions, hardware APIs to interact with the underlying camera and other platform-specific services, and the navigation infrastructure, and of course the testing. So now, what happened about 2 years ago, I was looking over these different popular cross-platform solutions, and I listed down these 5 popular solutions around that time: Flutter, React Native, Xamarin, Apache Cordova, and Ionic. And I ran a quick Google Trends search, a keyword search, and I found this chart. So as you can see, the red is the most popular solutions were, the red is in the React Native, which was the popular, and the Flutter was catching up. And then I ran the same search recently, and as you can see, the Flutter is in the blue line, that's catching up almost the curve. And here's a React Native. Now let's put together side by side, and you can see the comparison. So this is the growth rate that is like visual to me using this trend chart. So it's really catching up in the cross-platform developer community. Now let's see what the options we have if we want to write apps that we want to get delivered on different platforms. So in here, let's take example of only 2 platforms, let alone the all the 4, we leave the Chrome and the desktop aside for a sec. And so here you can see we have Android and iOS, and they actually are the separate app for each platform. You write native code, and this native code interact with the OEM widgets, the platform-specific widgets, which in turn interact with the Canvas and other platform events in services. And also this native code uses, interacts directly with the other hardware APIs of the system. Now there are choices of language that you can pick from. So each platform has at least 2 choices. One is the recent and another is legacy. And in legacy, so there are some enterprise projects where you might still have Java and Objective-C lying around. So for a developer who is writing these 2 apps, might want to know the 4 languages very well. And now another solution is JavaScript and web views, and some solutions like PhoneGap, Adobe, Apache Cordova, and Ionic stuff, they use JavaScript to write their applications. And what this does, it actually you write HTML and CSS code rendering the components, and that runs in the web view that internally interact with Canvas and events at the platform. And to interact with the services, the platform services right here, it uses something called JavaScript bridge. And all the interactions that's done through this bridge. Now, the better version of it is the reactive views and the React Native, as you might have heard of. So these are based on the reactive style views for mobile application. In this version of the cross-platform solution, the app is still written in JavaScript. However, there are no web views. There is this JavaScript bridge that you hop for every interaction with the OEM widgets and for the services. So for every call you make to either interact with your dialogue and buttons and other interaction, you have to pass through this bridge. So you have this context switching from JavaScript realm to native realm and the vice versa. Now the Flutter. So Flutter is also based on the reactive view style. However, there's a difference. The Flutter apps are written in Dart, and Dart actually does compile ahead of time into native code for the targeted platform. So if you're running your app, which is written in Dart on the web, actually your code will compile into the JavaScript, and then it will run on the web platform. And Flutter comes with the widgets and rendering solutions to interact with the Canvas and events. And it does use something called platform channels to interact with the services, the platform services like location, audio, and Bluetooth stuff. And there is no JS bridge, so there is no context switching of any kind. All right, so let's take a quick look at the cross-platform project, like how it looks like and how we get started. So first thing starts with like downloading and setting up Flutter. So if you go on their website, here's actually a link, and I will provide the slides later. So don't worry. So the first thing you do, you go and get a zip. So the here recent version is right after I took this information, right after Google I/O, when 2.2 was released. Right now, as we speak today, it's 2.2.1 is the stable version. And so you unzip it into a location, and that and you add the path, the Flutter bin, wherever the directory is in your environment variables, and it will pick up. Now, the second thing is choosing an environment. So you can pick the IDE of your choice. Either you can pick Android Studio or Visual Studio or IntelliJ. For this presentation, I will be using Android Studio, and we'll be doing a demo code later. And before, I will show you how to create the project on project for Android, iOS, Chrome, and Mac OS here for the desktop, because I have the Mac here. All right, so to create the Flutter project, we open this Android Studio, and we'll go through this wizard for all the required information. And finally, it will create us a demo, the Hello World for the Flutter. We will go over this, creating this project in the demo part. The second way, another way to create a project with Flutter is using command line. So here, the project is created using Flutter 2.0. And so what you do, first you need to have a stable channel. So I prefer using stable because we use the Flutter for production. So, and upgrade Flutter if you need to. The main command here is the Flutter create app1. App1 is the name of the project. And then you get into the directory of the project and you run Flutter run. So that's all. So Flutter run, what it does, it will ask you to choose your device. You might have multiple devices connected at the same time. So it will give you a list of the device to choose from. If you want to test your code on all the devices, then you can pass this flag -d all. It will run on all the devices at the same time. All right, so how does Flutter, this project structure look like in Android Studio? So here you can see there are dedicated folder for each platform. Should you write a very specific implementation for, like, say, Android or iOS, that you can write in Android and iOS folder or the web. So we have like a dedicated folders for each of these platform, and there's a code, this is a folder lib under which we all the shared code stays, and we use Dart to write the code in the lib folder. So all the Java and Kotlin code can go in Android, iOS, Swift, Objective-C can go in iOS, and so on. And the lib will have all the Dart code. So again, this project was created in using the Flutter 2.0, and Flutter 2.0 Flutter is rapidly evolving. So if you create your project using today's version, like a 2.2, it will also give you Mac OS folder as well. I'll show in a bit. So here for the web, as I was mentioning before, it compiles into the JavaScript. So if you look into the web/index.html, it actually converted the main.dart, which is a Dart file, into the JavaScript. It compiled into JavaScript to run into the web. All right. So there's one file, pubspec.yaml, to manage the dependency in the Flutter project. So this stays right here in the same root level, pubspec.yaml. So I'll go over just the main components here for now. So we have name and description of the app, and the version, that's your app version, the Flutter, the Dart version, Dart environment, and the dependencies. So in dependencies, two types. One is on the other packages, and like URL launcher. if I want to launch a URL, so I would use a package which support this thing. Either you can write your own, but here I'm using a package to launch my URL from my app, for example. And dev dependencies. And if you end up under Flutter section, goes all the assets and all the fonts if you need. Now, if you need to enable the desktop, so you need to enable that using this command like flutter config --enable and the platform name. So for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And you go get into your root directory of your project and mention this Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, and the dot. Dot is the current directory you're in. So what this command does, this actually creates a folder inside your project. So you can add all the platforms like Mac OS, Linux, and Windows right here. However, you cannot run all the platforms unless it's supported by a device. So Linux code, if you need to compile, you need to be on a Linux machine, and Windows one. So here I'm using Mac OS because I'm running on the Mac OS. Now, running the Flutter project, there are two ways to run the Flutter project. One is to use Android Studio. Other is command line. So on Android Studio, when you go in here, there's a tab bar, it will list all the target available at the given point of time. So when I took this screenshot, I had all 4 devices up there, like Chrome, my Android, my iOS, and Mac OS desktop. So if I would choose CLI command line, I can run simply Flutter run from the root directory of the project. If I want to target, I can use -d and can give the type or the all if I want to run on all. Now, these are the screenshot of the Hello World app in the Flutter that comes with the, if you run to like create app, this is the app, it's the Hello World app for Flutter. So I'm running here from iOS, Android, and Chrome, and Mac OS. Now let's look into the anatomy of this app that we just saw here, like how this is structured. So here, as you see, we have 3 parts of it. The first, of course, is a root, which is a scaffold. It's a container where your app stays. And then you have an app bar, which is A center widget, C, and the B is a fab or floating action button. So everything in Flutter is widget. So app bar is a widget, scaffold is a widget, text is a widget as well. In here, in the scaffold has the first thing is app bar, and it has a text widget right here, and which value is a title right here. And in here, in the middle, we want to center it here, so I would use a center widget. And I wanted to use 2 text. One is to put a text up there, and another is to show the increment number. So the topmost, I would wrap these 2 texts inside a column, like text 1 and text 2. And here is the text goes. The first text value doesn't change, as you see, but the text value for the counter does change as you push this plus button. All right, so now there are 2 types of main widgets in Flutter system. One is the stateless widgets, which are immutable, whose value doesn't change. And these widgets cannot be redrawn, like text we just talked about. So text is text, it doesn't change. Like you have push button, it doesn't change in itself. And there's something called build method, which actually build these widgets is only called once. So widgets like text, icon, card falls in this category. The another type of widget is stateful widget, which actually keeps their state. So for example, checkbox. Checkbox can have 2 states. Either it's checked or unchecked. Radio button, is it enabled or not, selected or not, and the text field, whether data is there or not. So we call it mutable because it can change, and it rebuilds every time over its lifetime of this widget. And the same build method is called multiple times when this is a stateful widget. Now let's take a look at the code. How does it look in the code? At the stateless widget, so this is the normal structure of the widget. So this is my custom widget, my stateless widget, which extends stateless widget, which is an inbuilt widget, and it does override a build method. So in stateless widget, this build method will only be called once. However, in the stateful widget, as you can see, it's slightly bigger, and it's extending the stateful widget, and it has another class here, which is a state object. And this state object is in turn manages the state. It keeps the track of state. So that's why every time the state of this of any component changes, this build method will be triggered again. Now, main dot dot. So what is main dot dot? Main dot dot is the main entry for the Flutter applications. So this is the main method. So in the file you put your main method is main dot dot, but it doesn't have to be named as main dot dot. It could be main dev, main 2, main 3, or whatever of your choice. But the thing is, I will show you how we can run that file too. But main dot dot is by default is picked up by the Flutter system. Now you use a method run app, and you wrap your my app, which is a class here defined, into that, and it will invoke it. So now let's focus on this top part first. So I have my class my app, which extends stateless widget, and it has a build method because I don't want to keep changing my state of this app. It stays one, it's kind of singleton. So the first flag is debug show check banner false. This is just a banner that comes at the side to make it invisible. You can choose it false. Second thing is the title. The title of the app goes here. So here is a Flutter demo. And there's one more property, theme. To give the theme, the default theme for the app, you use a widget theme data widget, and you pass the primary swatch property, the color of your choice. Now, the home is the property that you need to assign a widget, like which page needs to be opened first. So that's what the property is about. And the home, my home page is actually, you see, it's a stateful widget because I want to update the state of my page because I want to increment the counter. And what it does take is it takes the title right here, and it keeps the state of my home page in underscore my home page state object right here in this. So now take a little look into the state widget. So what happens here? It keeps a track of counter, the state of the counter that will be incrementing, and it has a method that written by us, increment counter. So every time we call increment counter, the counter increase by 1. And you notice the set state method. So what set state method is, if you call anything inside it, it will trigger the build method. It will trigger rebuilding of that widget. That's the state method is about. Now take a deeper look in the build method. So what we are doing here, we have the whole app pretty much like a whole all widget system here. So first thing, we have the scaffold, like what we saw in the graphics before. And inside that, the app bar, and using the scaffold's app bar property. Another part is the body. In the body is the center widget and the column. And we are just asking it to align it in the center. And this column has 2 children, 2 text, a padding, just a padding to around so that it doesn't stick to the walls. And you have 2 text. One is the top, which is immutable, and the another text whose value we change here by using the counter. So every time my counter changes, this build method rebuilds and update this counter value. And the floating action button, when it gets pressed, it calls underscore increment counter method, which goes right here, and that triggers the counter, updating the counter. And this counter triggers the build, and the builds put the updated value of the counter. Now let's quickly see the unit testing for it. It's just to show like how it's done at a very high level. So it does have a unit testing system. Flutter comes with it. And to run it, it's a simple command, flutter test and flutter space test space, the destination of the file where you wrote the unit test. So what are we testing here? Here we are testing what's the initial state of my app is. So at the beginning, I have counter is 0. And when I at the beginning, like I have a 0 and there is no 1. And when I click on it, and my value changes to 1. So that's pretty much we are testing here. So how does it work? Here it is a test widget method which is inbuilt, and it uses widget tester helper utility class to pump the widget. Pump the widget is triggers a frame. It's like a simulated frame. And so the initial, so first thing it triggered the frame, my app is rendering. Now the initial behavior is, if I find a text 0, I should find a 1 widget only. So this is the expected value, and this is the actual value. So if it matches, it's a true, it's a true. And at the beginning, we should not have the 1, so it says finds nothing. And so that's the initial, to verify the initial state. Now we tap the icon by using the tester, the same widget tester suite, and the dot tap triggers a frame. So we find the icon by icon ID, by icon type, what I say icon.add, and we pump the 1 frame, and that will change the value. It will increment the counter. So what happens now? There is no more 0. It's actually 1. So if it try to find 0, it finds nothing. And there's a 1, it finds 1 widget. So it's a very basic rudimentary implementation of the unit testing for this Hello World app. Now let's see the custom fonts. So what if we want to use the custom fonts? So first thing, you need to download fonts. So I downloaded font from Google Fonts. Here's a reference. And I add them into the pubspec YAML. And there is a folder called assets at the root level. And this is where I put it, all my fonts and images and all assets. So basically, under the Flutter section, under the fonts, so indentation is a proper indentation is a must here. We cannot mess up the indentation, otherwise it will not work. So fonts, and then family is a cookie, or you can change the name as you like, and the path to the font file. Now using font is, we had this text here, and we need to define a style. And we say text style, font family is cookie, and my font size is 60. So let's see what happens. This is iOS simulator, and this is Android simulator. So at both places, it picked up the new font. So it's in the bigger Mac OS and the Chrome screenshots. Now let's see a little bit into the themes. Like what if we want to implement the theme? So here I picked 2 themes, light theme and the dark theme. In the light theme, we have defined few parameters here, as we see here. The scaffold background color, which is, I picked like it's some teal, some shade, and in the dark theme is a different color. The primary swatch here is teal, the teal theme, and here is the orange. The brightness is light here, and here the brightness is dark. Now, there's a one thing, the theming around the floating action button theme. So if you want to theme the floating action button, you can use this theme, and you can actually do it with different icons as well, and the app bars and the different components of your app. Here, the example I'm taking of floating action button. So in the light theme, I'm giving a background color and the foreground color with a different. Elevation is about 10, which is the same in both, and they have different colors. There's a change in my theme data for the light theme. I'm using a little rounded rectangle border to show my floating action button. And in the dark theme, I'm taking default. So this is like a example to define the 2 different type of themes. Now, how we use it. So this is the same material app right here. So as we saw, we had title, we had theme. So I use teal theme as a default. So the two things are different here: theme mode and the dark theme property of the material app widget. In the theme mode, you can have three types of property: either light, dark, or system. So light is like if you want to keep your app in light theme always, you pick the light. If you want to have only dark theme, you pick dark. Or you can pick system, which will adapt to the system selected theme. So in here, as you can see, there's a little logic. So what I'm doing here, I'm changing my theme at the dark. I'm basically toggling. I have a toggle flag that I'll show in the code in the demo. And it's like on and off. So every time my theme changes from dark theme to light theme and so on. And there is a dark theme here, the property, and I'm using my dark theme variable here, which is here that I defined right here. So if the dark theme is available here and my dark theme mode is dark, then it will pick up this automatically. Now, there's one more thing we can do, customization, in showing the text. So right here in the text, we have the text theme and the headline. So these are the defined. So this is the system parent theme. If we want to use the parent theme, we use the theme dot of the context and the text theme, and we can use the predefined the headlines. But if we want to do some customization, like I want to show a different font or different font family, then I would use a copy width to overwrite the few properties on it. So I'm using the same cookie font family. For the counter, I want to show a different size, like I'm using headline 1, so to show it a little bigger. So let's see how it looks like now. So as the one change we made here was of course in colors, but in the floating action button. So here we had like a rectangle rounded corners, but in the dark, we had the default. So that's how we can do the theme and customizations as our app needs. Now, there is something like exploring Flutter sample code. This is like my favorite part, because this is where like I have more fun. I can go and explore different sample codes provided by the Flutter documentation. So what we need to do here, you can have a simple command line like a terminal, and simply like running this Flutter create -- sample and the ID of the sample provided. You put your any app name. Only thing is it has to be lowercase and appended with the underscores. There's no spaces. Now the question is, how would you get these IDs? So for that, there's a command, Flutter create -- list samples, and you can dump all these samples in a big JSON files. There are about, say, 100-ish examples. Yeah, I need to look at what's the current number on that. So in here, I picked just this example, material switch list right here. And if I put this into my command, it will run the code. It will create the code for me. And this is the example code. So this is the example code is provided by the Flutter documentation samples that comes with it. So I took this example and I modified a little bit and used a launcher plugin. So I did like is a privacy policy, and on off and on, we can accept the privacy policy, or we can click this. So it's like got accepted. And if I click on it, the link that just opened before opens up. And here's a tutorial too, in case you want to look at in the detail how this is implemented. All right, so let's see the developer tooling, what the tools we have that comes with the Flutter. The one tool is the Flutter Doctor. So Flutter Doctor it checks like if you have all the packages installed or not. So the first thing you do, you install the SDK, and you run the Flutter doctor to see if you have all the Flutter packages installed or not. Another important command is the Flutter create, basically to create a Flutter project on the command line, and the building and for the running. So I mentioned before, like you don't have to have the name of your file as main. You can have a different. However, you have to put a tag past this flag -t if you want to choose a different file. And as like a Flutter help gives like all the list of the files, all the list of the commands, important commands. My favorites are these few, the build and doctor we talked about. The format is formatting the dot files. You can say Flutter format, it will format it. You don't have to worry about the indentation, stuff like that. And of course the run. So on the Android Studio, one thing you need additionally called Flutter plugin that you can install at the Flutter repository. The Android Studio Flutter, the plugins. And here it automatically pick up the Flutter SDK. And one thing like here you wanna, these are my settings that I keep it on. The first thing is perform hot reload on save. Like every time I save, it gets hot reloads and my changes get updated to the my app on my phone. And second one is the organize import on save and formatting on save. So this is like a really lifesaver settings to have, because every time you hit the save, it will automatically format code for you. All right, and there's one is live templates. So if what live templates are, like you don't have to remember all these code boilerplate code. You start typing, say, STLESS, and it will create this a stateless widget for you, and so on. Like here, there are a few examples of it. The last thing I want to show you is the Flutter or outline tool. So this is a very useful tool when you are doing your UI layout and trying to understand which code belongs to which part of my code. So like here, for example, and it actually matches the same piece of code from this Flutter outline tool. So if I select the Flutter, the scaffold, it will highlight the scaffold right here. And here is, and you can match it up from the UI here. All right, so before I go to demo, I was wondering like if anyone have questions. Nick?
Yeah, thanks, Priyanka. Yeah, we have some questions. So we're if you're ready for us. So we have one question from Elaine here asking, is it possible to set the theme to pick the system theme?
Yes, you can do that. Yes, so we need to have a system flag there. Like I showed like a 3 flag. If you have system, it will automatically pick the system. So I can here somewhere right here in the theme mode. If you have theme mode system, it will pick up the system theme.
Got it. That makes sense. And then I had some questions as well, and I'll let people ask as well, I think, because they weren't ready to ask yet. But in regards to Android Studio, the experience that you get, do you get the same rich experience that you would get if you were developing Kotlin and Java applications in Android Studio? Do you get like the live kind of drag and drop experience? Or even I know that you showed how to run tests, but can you use the debugger that Android Studio offers for Flutter applications? To what extent do you have?
Yeah, so we have debugger there. I can show you in the demo that. So it's very similar. So with Android Studio, the reason I picked here because I used to develop for Android. And if you're coming from Android's world, then it looks very native for you. So whatever is available for the Android or tooling, you have a .dev tools also in addition, but we have all the tooling available there, and the experience is very similar to developing in Android Studio for Android.
Got it. We have another question that just came in from Darren Dev, and I kind of have similar questions around this as well. Can you write native iOS and Android components if needed?
Yes, definitely yes. That's what we do. So if you have Bluetooth, for example, you can. So we prefer writing at iOS and Android, like very custom logic, like sensor. If you have sensors, uh, for that logic, like if it's different for Android and iOS, then definitely yes. And that's called, we use something called platform channels to interact with those services. So only thing is it will go inside those folders that I showed at the beginning. Um, right here. So if you're writing the Android code, say you want to interact the camera service, you will write in the Android and so iOS. So yes, that's possible.
Got it. So I'd like to follow up on the question regarding the native components. I assume that there's probably a repository or some place that you can get pre-made native components. Is that such a thing, or is it all baked into Flutter already? Like, I assume the camera and simple things like that. But what about like weird Bluetooth experiences and stuff? Is that all baked in, or is there components for that?
Yes, there are components. Actually, we call it Dart packages or Flutter packages,
Sure.
and they are available in the pub.dev. And I have links actually in this presentation for those resources.
Got
For
it.
example, the URL launcher I used to launch that page for policy is, I'm using a URL launcher. I'm not writing my code. This is a third party, comes from this repo of the packages.
And are these packages, are they pretty consistent? Like if you want to make sure that you have an Android, iOS, or even Mac OS application, can you be confident that the packages will work on all the platforms that you want to deploy to? Or are there tricks?
Yeah, maybe I'll just show you.
Sure. And then we have other questions coming in as well after this.
Yeah, I'll just share
no
my
worries.
screen. So you, for the packages question,
hold on.
you
Let me put your screen back. Sorry. There we go. It's back.
Yeah. So for the packages question, you have this repo pub.dev right here, and you can have all these packages right here. Oh, there you go. URL launcher is right there.
Sure.
So all the high quality, so that's how you can figure out the popularity and the pub points. So they have good like a documentation on that, like how to find the good quality plugins. So you can see, so some of the things I see, Flutter favorite, popularity, and how much is the pub points they have.
Got it. We have another question coming in from Jojo. Can we import iOS and Android libraries into Flutter? Maybe directly or
in the native components, not in the Flutter Dart code, but in their folders. So inside the folders, they are their own native and Android projects. Yeah.
Perfect.
So yes, in those folders, yes.
That's all the questions that have trickled in for now. I'm going to encourage that everyone listening right now, please enter your questions into the chat, and then we'll ask after the demo. So we'll give you some time to think of some questions.
Yeah. Okay. So I will show you how to create the project in Android Studio as a first thing. So let me change my window. All right. So I have here my Android Studio right here. So to create a Flutter project, you have to pretty much go through the wizard. That's the simple thing. So still, I'll just go through. Oh, okay. Still showing now. Okay.
Yeah, it's still showing the welcome to Android Studio.
I just should share my whole desktop.
Yeah, that usually works better.
That's better. Yeah. So once I click on it, here it will pop it like what kind of Flutter module, like what I do with this. So Flutter app is the one for the apps. Module is something for if you are trying to create Flutter components to add to Android and iOS, you can do that too. However, I haven't tried that one yet. It was buggy when I tried last time, but yes, they are working on it. Flutter plugin is the another one where you can write your Android and iOS code in itself, like your packages, and can share with the other projects. And the pure Dart packages are some called Flutter packages. So here in the Flutter, we are creating, of course, a Flutter app. And here, say, app demo. And description and stuff like that. And Android by default is Kotlin and Swift is selected, but if you don't want that, you can choose Java and Objective-C. And for platforms, as you see, everything which is supported on my computer is selected. So Linux and Windows is not, but I can choose web. It's kind of gave me option to choose. Other things are disabled. So if I create this, it should give me all projects or all folders in my project. Oh yeah, it's creating. Just pop the window. All right, so it takes a second. Right, still indexing. All right, so here you see the Android, iOS, the main.dart, which is right here, which is a dart file, and came. So now the question about the whether we can write the Android and iOS. So you can actually open this into the Android Studio. If you right click on it and go to Flutter, you can write this project as in the Android, as if it was an Android Studio project. And same thing with the iOS. If you click on it, you can open it as an Xcode. And from there, it becomes, say, literally the native project. So yes, you can use your Android and iOS libraries if you need to in these folders. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so that's how you can do the Flutter, the app. This is just a demo app. So let's close it. So now I can also create, like, say, use Flutter create app demo 2. We'll do this. And it will give me suggestion, change into my app demo 2. And okay, this is now interesting thing. Flutter run. Is it big enough? Can you see it?
It could go a little bigger. Maybe one or two more. That's good. Perfect.
So it created this everything, all the bindings. So just quickly look over it. Flutter create and your project, and it will create the directory for you at the same level and put a whole project inside this directory in folder. And it create the iOS and the Android and whatever we asked for it in their folders. So now Flutter run, if I run Flutter run, it will try to understand like what devices are connected. So right now I don't have Android or iOS connected. So only thing is Mac OS because it's Mac, and the Chrome because I have Chrome running. So it shows. So I need to choose either one now here. So let's say I'm choosing my one, and it should pop up my Mac OS window, the desktop application, in a sec.
While it's loading, maybe I can slip a question in.
Sure.
Maybe I missed it, but when you're building for Mac OS, is it building an Electron application behind the scenes, or is this a native? I don't know what Mac uses natively. Swift, Cocoa, something like that.
That's a good question. We can look into it. So let's open. This is my demo project that I just showed you, and let's see what it does. It's actually the native. Oops. It's kind of frizzy. It's trying to do, yeah. Okay, so that's how the structure looks like. It has the Flutter bindings inside. It's ephemeral, and the configuration and runner project. So it is a Xcode project.
Oh, wow,
see,
that's
right
that's
there.
awesome.
Yeah, it's exactly the native. It does compile into the native as well. And the pod files. What is my? Still it's working. All right. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. So
Do you
oh,
do
there
you
you go.
find are you on a laptop right now?
Yes, I am.
Do you find that Flutter is very resource intensive? Like, is your laptop genuinely able to handle it fine?
Generally, it does. So right now, like multiple things are happening. So if I have like a four things connected, uh, it runs most of the time. But if I'm trying to do multiple things, like so here I was trying to create a project here and then here, and she was trying to open the the this desktop application. So at that point, it needs more resources. But now when it's
Got it.
running and I save it, it will be very quick. So it's only
Perfect.
like a startup times.
I won't interrupt you again.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Now it's all question time. Yeah.
Nope.
So
Yeah, no. Go for it.
yeah. So it's like a 1, 2, 3. Very interesting app. All right. So here, this is like the code I use for the demo, and it will be, of course, available at the GitHub if you want to check later. And I really like to play with this like a JSON dot sample.json, because this is like a step I really started with, to playing around with the different codes. I think we should do that right after I walk you through the project here. So for the asset, my TTF file of the fonts, you can put it on asset, and the pubspec.yaml, it goes right here with the relative to the root directory. So that's, and the packages question, this is where the packages goes, all the third-party packages that you refer or use from the pub.dev, it goes here with their version, of course. And okay, so one thing is interesting here. So you can have all these drop down plus the themes, plus the configurations. So I have here like a 3 main Dart files, like a 3 entry points. So I can pick, and all of them have the main. So either I can pick this. So this one will give me just a simple counter hello world app. If I choose the main theme, it will give me the theme example. So why? Because the magic thing is this. So if, as far as it has the main method, you can use it as an entry point to your app. All right. So, and one interesting thing. So this is the URL it gives for your the debugger question that someone asked. And of course, there's a profiler. So let me open into a. Okay. So I opened this URL in here. So this is a dev tools of the Android Studio, the Flutter uses for Flutter dev tools. So it has a combination of pretty good good resources like inspector. So you can see like where the problems are, like where the overflows are. So you click on it, it will give you exactly layout. And one handy thing is this, like for example, I want to change it and see my flags 3 property. So it will update. It's a little glitchy right now. It should cancel. So basically it updates the size in it. Usually it does it for me. Oh yeah, there you go. It's not as glitchy as I'm seeing it right now here. So usually I
Well,
develop
you're
for one
streaming. It's
device.
usually
Yeah,
usually
probably
it's very
that's the reason. Yeah, so
yeah.
usually like I do it for one device at a time, and then I flutter the all, and I just see like I just check pretty much like if it's doing what I asked it to do. And this is a very useful tool, the Layout Explorer. And another is the debugger. You can also use debugger here. First thing, okay, Android Studio also have a debugger, but you can also use if you really want to, a networking, logging, and all this. Performance is another one. You can profile your app. However, you have to run in a profile mode to see it. So right now it's not running in the profile mode, it's running in the uh, debug mode. Okay, yeah, so that's all I wanted to show here. So let me show you the debugger here. So debugger is right here. So if you click on it, how about we just run it? and put a breakpoint, put our theme. Let's see here. All right. So let me cancel this. And let's pick Chrome this time. And this is a little debug button, same like an Android development. And it has a very similar experience. You have a question while you're waiting?
We do have a question.
Okay.
So we have another question from Darren Dev. So what's an overview? Oh, hold on. What's an overview of popular state management in Dart? Any popular client databases?
The state management solution are there actually a couple. So you can choose Redux also, if you like. And the provider is another one that you're going to choose. So usually there are packages. So Redux, change provider, the state management solution. Let's see. So this is how you can, so Redux package we can use. So here there are few. Block. So the block is a pattern actually, but there is a library also if you want to use. So business logic component. Yeah, so there are block, Redux, change, and provider. They are the three popular solution. And there's a Getit too. And another question was the popular client databases is the so what we have in Android's room. So in here we have something called More, uh, which is a wrapper around the SQLite database. So this is the one, More Flutter preview here. Yeah, so either you can use your these packages, or I would prefer using the More package. It's pretty cool.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is it still loading, or do we have time for more
Oh yeah.
questions?
Oh no. Wait. Oh yeah. We can now take question as well. But yeah, it's downloaded, and I made it really big. Oh, come on. There we go. Yeah. So here is the. Okay. Yeah. Shoot the question.
Yeah. So I mean, this was a question that I have actually. So, I mean, you talked about theming, using the possible dark theme, light theme, system themes, and stuff like that. When we're developing these cross-platform applications, is there a way, or is it even best practice, to make it look native for the device that you're trying to deploy to? Because I know that it's not common for iOS to follow the material design theme that Android follows. And then it's probably even less common for a desktop application to follow those themes. Is there a way just to make it look like
Yeah.
what you would expect in a native environment?
So this thing is a Cupertino icons. So you have the Cupertino full widget library support there. So you can customize your theme to pick it based on the platform. So there is a component in the platform. Oops, it can pop up. Platform.ios. So it looks like that is a variable in the platform which you can choose to identify which platform it's running into, and you can pick your theme accordingly.
Got it.
So yeah, so like how I have customized the themes here. Let's go. Like themes. So I have the themes class here. Yeah.
I was going to say, so you're not forced to make it look like, I guess you could say maybe like a website. You can actually, you have full control.
Yes, you are. You have the full control. So it's like depending on what app you're working on, what's your, like, how do you want to structure the code? That's your choice. But you have the tools to identify which platform is running into and what icon set you want to show on that.
Got it.
Yeah. So mostly I work on Android and iOS. So I don't know much. I'm not very sure about the web part, how if it's done or not. But for Android and iOS, yes, that sounds sure. Okay. Let's see. It's not picking.
Is it still trying to debug?
No, it's like it's not picking. Let me try this. It's
You've got
open.
a lot of stuff running it. I'm sure it's probably being pushed to the limit right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so streaming is not the good time to actually do the demo on all the devices.
It's all good.
Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah, so while we are waiting, we can use to show like how to do the. Okay. Okay. So there's a Flutter dev site. In here, you can use here's a docs and there's a samples there, so which are pretty neat. Right here. So this gives a very good insight into what's possible and not. So this is where I would start, like if you're looking into deciding, researching whether it's a good fit for your app or not, I would go and take a look at it, like what the applications are. So these are the samples, and here's a cookbook. Basically, it goes take you one by one, and so here's the demos actually. So I don't have to create one. So click a look in here. So you can launch the app, or you can see the source code behind it. Right here. So these are the app, and you see this little icon there. It's actually the Mac OS app. Oops. See, so now it opened into Mac OS. So this right now it's a Mac OS. It's no more web. So we were in web and we switched to the Mac OS. So this is the demo.
Really cool.
Yeah. Of course, that's glitchy. So this.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a
So it-
Flutter problem.
Yeah. So it installed as a Mac OS app here right now for me. Yeah, so that's pretty cool actually. So yeah, so it's like a fun to play around with these demo. So I don't know, where is my app is gone. I hope it's still running. Let's try Voila. Oh, you know why it was not working? Because we were debugging in the main.dart. We had a,
Yeah.
and I had a wrong, like I was running a different file and I had a breakpoint at the wrong file. That's why I was not picking up. No wonder. Oh, no, don't start with Mac OS, please. With my iPhone simulator. Okay.
I think you still have some breakpoints in there. Is it going to mess stuff up?
No.
No.
So what's the question? Like if I put more breakpoints, it will mess it up?
No. I wasn't sure. If you still had because I think you still have breakpoints in there, right? As far as I
Yeah,
can
so
tell.
what I was doing, I had the breakpoints in the main theme and I was running the main.dart. I didn't
All right.
switch my configuration here. So usually you don't have so many configurations unless you have a demo app. You have usually one application, one entry point. That's the usual case. So right now the Xcode, and also you can run your this same project using Xcode. Like if I open it, I can run from Xcode. If you're coming from iOS background and you're more comfortable debugging in Xcode, you have an option. Okay. Any more questions?
None coming in from the chat yet. I have plenty of questions, and
Go ahead.
this is coming from having used other cross-platform mobile development technologies, and I think there's actually a lot of React Native developers in the group, so it might resonate with them as well, even if they don't want to speak up. In regards to, in regards to just starting out, I would say, because this is mobile development can be tough sometimes. Is there any anything you would recommend, anything that you experienced that you kind of banged your head on for a while that that you think would be worthwhile to tell people?
Don't try to debug in all the four platforms at the same time. Do it one at a time.
Is
That's
there
the
a
one.
platform you should start with?
Yeah, so the native one platform that you want to get the primary app, do it at one at the same time, and then switch it to the second one. So what mistake I did was when I was very excited about the Flutter, I said, hey, it can run it at everywhere. And I started like running Flutter -d all everywhere. And that's where I kind of, couldn't really be more productive. So I would say do it at one and then try running in all. So that's the one. Second one is the choosing the plugin right. So like should have a good popularity score is another one. So yeah, it came breakpoint right here.
Perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, oops. Okay, so yeah, it has a very same control that we have for the Android Studio. And there you go. So if I click, it will go in the debug again. So it's changing the dark theme. And it went again. And again. So it builds everything in the build, re-executed again. So now you can structure your code, the thing you really mean to build again and again, only then you want to keep in your build method. So for example, I really don't need to build a scaffold maybe, here. So in here, I don't have, but in the example before, I had like everything in the build method. Maybe you don't want to do that. You want to have it. Oh, actually, I do have here the whole app. So I don't want to build the whole app. So yeah, so one tip is here, try to keep your widgets in the modular fashion. That's what I do. So like if I'm building column, I will create a separate widget maybe. So it could be a stateful or stateless widget. And I will just build that one. I will not build like everything what is being done here. This is not a good practice. Yeah, because you are kind of building everything again and again. So that's something to be mindful about.
Perfect. Those are good tips.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see the jank here. It's running here in the tool. I'm trying to, yeah, there you go. You see? So it's crossing the 6. Yeah, so this is a very good example of what you should not be doing and how to be mindful. Yeah, so this is kind of part of a demo.
Sure.
All right. So in here, you can see like what parts you are getting painted right here. So this is like little this thing, like how to debug paint. You can see how their layouts are. So that's another good tools there. Yeah. So it's a performance overlay is. Oops. Let me get rid of these. Yeah, so this performance overlay can put this thing in here and can tell you where the things are happening like this
in real
time. Yeah.
And that performance overlay works for all platforms?
Yes. Yeah, that's Flutter based. Yes, that's true for all the platforms. It's like a nice to click. See the color changing. See, there's a jank is coming, not all the time, but sometime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how the debugging is.
Nice.
Close it.
So, I mean, in regards to Flutter where you work, I don't know if you're allowed to talk on it at all, but you said Willow Innovations is an IoT kind of company, correct? Mm-hmm. Or am I mistaken? So
yes,
how are you using Flutter over there?
So very same thing, like a Flutter, of course, definitely for the apps. That's what we do. And so mostly we have the bearable devices. So BLE component is like a very major thing. And so basically it's being tested in the real time that it works. So we use the native, the architecture I just described earlier in the talk, like you have Android specific and iOS specific. Yeah, it's a very common architecture to interact with the platform services.
And you said Bluetooth LE. Is that what you said you're
BLE,
using a lot of?
BLE.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. This is fantastic. We'll let any more questions trickle in if there's anything else. Was there anything else that you wanted to show us tonight, Priyanka?
Yeah, I will just show you like the things this one. This is pretty, I still like it. This was the first thing when I found it was like a magical
Yeah.
for me. Um, let's, so in here, I can create it will dump all the IDs of samples that we saw on the website. So that's what it does if you want to do it programmatically. And if I do, I open this file, you can see all the lists are here. So basically, this is coming from the documentation of Flutter. So I want to experiment with, let's say this one, the first one, and I have this ID. So let's copy it here and run this command. Flutter create is universal. Only thing is this flag sample and the material ID and the project name. So say fitted box. I don't know what this example is right now. I will see what we picked. And it's pretty quick. It doesn't take that much unless we are running. Okay, let's see. It has. Let's see what it gives us. Now it should give us simulator 2 because it's running. So right now it's trying to identify what devices are connected. Okay. So it picked up the last selected device. So let's see what comes. Sorry.
Is it downloading packages right now?
Yeah, he's downloading packages. Yeah, so I'm running into the Chrome. Yeah, so that part, like, is switching is not like fun. It's started picking up some other app. Oops. It's still trying to connect to the Chrome. Okay. Yeah, so this is the like a one annoying part, switching. So usually that's why the hot reload comes very handy, like where I change my code and it automatically picks up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the startups are slower the first time. So here I'm trying to like switch between the devices. Let's see what it came. Did it run? It's running. Okay, an owl. All right, we got an owl. So it's a fitted box.
All
fitted
that
box.
work.
Yeah. So yeah, so these examples are very simple to advance. So it's something to like a. I just pressed the Q here. Yeah. So say cat sample. We have like a layout builders, something. So it's something like, to play around when. So this is like my hobby right now. I just have to see, okay, what they have,
Yeah.
like form, different forms. Yeah, so that's the only last thing I want to show. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we don't have any other questions that have trickled in. Um, I don't know if they're shy or not. That's all right. Let me switch over to our faces. And if any questions come in the next few minutes, they're still fair game. But this was great, Priyanka. You were very thorough, and I have no doubt that the people listening and watching will be benefiting because I know that the group is very heavily invested in things like Ionic and React Native. So this is good to see an alternative. For people who are still watching, since this is live on YouTube, before you leave tonight, please go ahead and hit that like button on the video, so that way it gets more views in the future. And is there anywhere that people can reach out to you directly, Priyanka?
Yeah, definitely. My LinkedIn is here. I can share the screen.
Yeah, share it.
Or I, yeah.
I'll look for it too. I got it. I'll put it in the chat too.
Yeah, so these are some useful links. That's like good reads. And that's where it's my LinkedIn and my Twitter. And it's a GitHub repo is right here if you're interested checking out later. Here and my blog. So I just share my learning through this blog.
All right, perfect.
Yeah,
We have Elaine saying thanks, Priyanka. This was informative.
Thank you so much.
All right, well then I won't keep you too much longer. I know it's late for everyone. So once again, thanks for coming out. We have our next meeting in July. We meet for the Tracy Developer Meetup once per month. If you want to see what's next on the meetup calendar, go to tracydevs.com and see what's coming up next. See you later, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.